Good Monday morning, everybody. How are we? How was your weekend? It is the Morning Rabble here on the Rangers Rabble podcast. Yes, my hair is getting worse. The older I get, the worse my hair seems to get. I hope everybody had a great weekend. We're coming into this Morning Rabble with quite a bit to talk about, but also on the back of a Rangers win, which is the first time since I've started this, albeit 2 weeks ago, that we have been able to do that. So we will discuss quickly the Dundee United game. Obviously, look, we're live tonight at 7:30 with your Monday night rabble, and we will go into much more depth about that and everything else that I will bring up. We've got producer Brian in the background doing his producing work, starring your comments, get them in, and I will bring them up to you as well. The analytics for the show is going crazy, absolutely mental. Memberships have went up so much percent. I don't even know how to work it out, but 68 members in 28 days is crazy. So thank you so much for that. Something like 600 new subscribers to the show as well in the space of those 28 days. So please do keep liking, subscribing, all that good stuff, sharing the show. As regular viewers, can you say regular viewers after 2 weeks? I don't know. But regular viewers of the Morning Rabble will know that I like to do a question of the day. And I've got a couple in my mind. But today's question of the day is it ever acceptable? Is it ever acceptable to wear socks with sandals or socks with flip-flops? Obviously, more so on holiday, we wear these things or kicking about the house. Is it ever acceptable to wear socks with sandals? And the reason that I've asked that is that producer Brian is not long back from holiday. He was away sunning himself, taking pictures of himself with cigars, with his Rangers hat on, absolutely steaming. He's the only man I know. He's the only man that I know who can be apoplectic, like steaming, like falling about the place, doesn't know where he is, doesn't even know his own name, and then he's up at 6 in the morning, fresh as a daisy, having his breakfast like nothing happened the night before. He's the only man I know. So, socks with sandals is an international war crime. I mean, all right then. That's a bit over the top, gallant. But yeah, socks and Crocs. Um, I mean, not, not unless you're cold. Heather, how you doing? It feels like it's been ages since I've spoke to Heather. No socks with sandals are never acceptable. Um, I mean, I do have one yes. London B says yes. Yes, they absolutely are. Um, Brian, socks with sandals?
Absolutely not, under any circumstance. I'm not saying it should be an international war crime, but certainly a firing squad should be on scene ready for nonsense like that. It's just ridiculous. And it was all ages as well. I seen it was young guys right up to the, as somebody just said there, the old fuddy duddies. But yeah, there was a severe age range with that, and it was nonsense.
Well, thank you for your input, Brian. I don't want to anger you any further. So yeah, there we go. Socks with sandals. Please keep getting your opinions in. Brian will keep starring those comments, and I will be able to bring them up. Channel member Neil, Monday morning after a win for a change. Absolutely. That's a good point, by the way. In holiday, when you want to walk with sliders on to stop the blisters, how frustrating is it when you either forget to pack, because I've got the Rangers flip flops, right, and they're the only flip flops that don't hurt my feet for some reason, the Castor ones, and I forgot to pack them. Went on holiday last year, I think it was, and I bought sliders and they ripped my feet apart. So I mean, maybe that's fine. Socks with sliders are fine. Yeah, you've annoyed Brian. I'm not going to lie. You have absolutely annoyed Brian. So that's the kind of thing that we like to do in the Morning Rabble, folks, is just have a wee laugh, have a wee joke before we get to the serious stuff. My second question of the day, and I probably should keep some of these questions because there's only so many questions you can ask. Does it ever work going back to an ex? Right? Does it ever work? That is my second question of the day. And those of you who are in Mensa will understand why I've asked that question. Does it ever work going back with an ex? And I say that because the rumours circulating about Dave King saying that he is more than happy to come back into Rangers for a couple of years, steady the ship, sorry, CGM, socks with sliders is only fine if you're a Mexican drug dealer. I mean, that's fair enough. I, phew, um, Much better thumbnail finally. Yes, my face is not on the thumbnail anymore. The views were starting to go down, and I was starting to worry that it was because my face was on the thumbnail. But yeah, I'm going to have Stuart coming on at 11:45. Stuart knows all things financial, and he's going to talk about Dave King coming back, possibly. What does that mean? I'd like to get your thoughts as well on the whole Dave King situation. I'm a bit worried about commenting on it. Not worried, but I like to be as balanced and as fair as I can. I don't have the greatest memory, folks. Um, but you know, Dave King, it felt as though he looked after the club well. We did have numerous court cases. He does like to be in the media a lot more. He was part of the board that brought in like Pedro Caixinha, the Murty thing, but he did bring Steven Gerrard into the club, and look how that worked. We also have to be honest with ourselves, folks, in terms of and look, there's people that have had a go at me. Obviously, with this, look, the sad news about John Bennett's health, nobody wants anybody to be, struggling with health reasons. It was a doctor that told him that he had to give it up, and if the doctor tells you that, then it's time to give it up. But that doesn't mean that you then automatically go back on everything that you've said about said person. And I don't think Bennett was doing a good enough job on the football side. Um, I was calling for change at board level. Most people I know were calling for change at board level. So just because obviously the sad news about his health doesn't mean it's going to change the way that I think or feel or the opinions that I have. The big question that we wanted to know was, well, if the board go, if the current board go, or anybody from the current board goes, who comes in to replace them? That is the question. Now, does Dave King coming back, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Or is it somewhere in between? I don't know. That's why Stuart's coming on at 11:45. What we did hear a few weeks ago from Dave King was that, John Bennett was putting everything into it. However, there was no real interest when there was talked about the American investors. There was no real interest from Saudi Arabia. And now that it's possible that he may be coming back to the club, now there does seem to be some interest for somewhere. So the big question we have is, I mean, do we really have an option if there's nobody else out there to fill the job role as chairman? John's saying King has left. King has a club at heart. It's a safe option for 2 years. It's a no-brainer. I'm going to bring producer Brian in just before we get Stuart on, because we had a wee conversation about this before that. Brian, can't remember John Scott Rangers saying King is a club at heart. It's a safe option for 2 years. A no-brainer.
I think, as I said to you at the start, before we went live, he's going to come in, and he said, "I'll do a 2-year period." He's obviously committing to a certain amount of time. He knows the building very well. He knows he's navigated that situation before. I'd rather somebody that has done something like this before comes in and says, "I'll do it for X period of time." At least you're getting a guaranteed sort of period of stability. It's certainly better than somebody that's going into that sort of job that doesn't want to do it and is sort of forced into the situation. You're getting him coming in where he's going to be in for 2 years. He's hopefully going to lay that groundwork for after the 2-year period, and it's almost like a sticky plaster situation where he is going to come in, try and fix things, and then leave it in a position where somebody else comes in it and moves it on then, because he's obviously said there's going to have to be some outside investors, coming in. So yeah, for me, I would suggest that it's a decent move in the sense that you're getting a stability period of time and for 2 years on the board, and that's what we're looking for just now. We're looking for a bit of stability. We're looking for a bit of keeping it on an even keel rather than a decline. And hopefully King wasn't shy in sort of defending the club either. I think that's been an issue for a lot of fans, is if anything's went wrong outside the club, our board hasn't been very proactive in defending us and just letting things sort of just slide,
Producer Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, now I'm going to bring in a man who's far more intelligent than me, which I know all he's watching are going, oh man, Martin, that could be anybody. I mean, yeah, it could. But I'm going to bring in Stuart. Stuart, first of all, how are you?
I'm not bad. That's you put me in a bit of pressure there, actually, with that intro. Jeez.
Not really, because most people are smarter than me, Stuart. Right. Okay. So, Stuart, what does all this mean then? Dave, obviously, John Bennett's left. Dave King wants to come back in, from what we hear. What does this mean financially for the club? Does that mean that Dave King's going to have to come in and put in more of his money? John Bennett will obviously want to get his money recouped at some point. Where does all this situation leave us?
I think it's quite a complex picture, Martin, and I'm not sure it's just as straightforward as Dave King just comes back in and he's got a checkbook and he's going to start writing checks again. I don't sense that from the kind of the correspondence that he's put out there. I put on our chat earlier. Look, I think first and foremost, I think Dave King deserves a lot of credit for things that he's done with Rangers. We needed a Dave King back, kind of 2014, 2015, to rid the charlatans that we had in charge at that point. We needed somebody to stand up to them. I do feel, though, that as time has progressed and maybe with distance, and I think I likened it in our chat earlier to players that maybe don't play. I think sometimes people maybe look at them more fondly and maybe forget about some of the things that they've done. So I used Hadji, for example. I think people now look at Hadji in a better light than maybe what he was when he was playing. And I do wonder a bit of that with Dave King. He like I say, he did a lot of good things, but Dave King made mistakes when he was with us. He gave us Pedro Caixinha, for one. He involved us in some long running court battles, which we're still trying to get ourselves out of. So there are positives and negatives to, I think, Dave King coming back. I think Brian just touched on it. He knows the club, etc. So, I think he has that. And if it was for a short period of time, his comment about investment, I think he is right. I think the current board and the current set of investors, I think they've done their bit. I'm not convinced there's an appetite or a willingness from those investors to put more in. So it potentially needs kind of fresh blood in that area. But I think that then opens up the questions about, well, how do you do that? Are the current investors or the board members, are they willing to sell at this point to new investors, or are they planning, or would the plan to be do another share issue? Now, if you do another share issue, you then diminish the shares that are already out there, and you cannot keep running share issues forever to generate money. And it felt as if we got to that point where the board had ran a number of share issues, and it was probably at the end of that kind of avenue. So I'm not convinced that there is then that option again, because I think there could be pushback on that. So I'm assuming what he's meaning is that he has, or he knows of people who'd be willing to invest, and that would be buying shares off of existing shareholders. There is then the murky water of kind of financial fair play and all that. I've seen McCoy's talking about that, when King's mentioned Saudi Arabia and America, etc., I always refer back to Newcastle at this point. Newcastle are probably one of the, if not the richest club in the world, certainly right up there. They can't just spend all the money that is clearly sitting behind the scenes, because financial fair play doesn't just allow somebody to come in and then just start signing checks. You've got to demonstrate how the club is generating money, etc., in order for then you to be able to spend more. So that's why Newcastle have had a really, really difficult transfer window. It's not because they've not got any money to spend, it's because they have to comply with financial fair play. They've had to sell people, players that they probably didn't actually want to sell. They've had to do that to fall in line. So it's not just as straightforward as saying, well, yeah, there's people in Saudi Arabia that want to come in and invest money in Rangers. That investment would have to be around the whole club, so that it then starts generating money. So I always have a bit of an issue when people start saying, oh, well, we spent money in Edmonston House. But those are the sort of initiatives that we need to do as a club to show, well, that's money that the club is generating, it's bringing in. It's not somebody just writing a check. So I think it's a really complicated picture. I think there are pros to him coming back, and if it was just a short term, I think if it was 2 years, I think he would need to be fairly clear early on. Okay, what happens in 2 years? What is the plan then? Who takes over at that point, so that we then don't have a kind of confusing period and a bit of flux and uncertainty at that point. But I do always just think with Dave King that it wasn't all brilliant times with him. He did make mistakes as well.
Stuart, I have to ask as well. I mean, I probably should have wrote a couple of A points down that you said, but I didn't, because it's me. But on Dave King coming back in, so if he's coming back to take over as chairman, if that's what he wants, he's still the majority shareholder. There was always rumblings that his relationship with Douglas Park wasn't always fantastic. So is there a chance that there's going to be a power struggle? Who's then making the decisions? Who's appointing a CEO? Who's appointing a director of football? Who's appointing an academy director? We would need to know all that.
Oh yeah, so I think one point I should have said, I think Dave King's, it would surprise me that what he's trying to do at the moment is protect his investment, in his shares, etc. Let's not be about the bush, he was in a stage where he was wanting to sell his shares to Club 1872,
Yep.
So he was wanting out of it not that long ago. So, and clearly the way the situation is with the club, he's thinking, well, he's protect himself, and I have no issue with that, by the way. He's a businessman, he's invested a lot of money. I don't have an issue with that. But you're absolutely right. I think there's certainly a breakdown in a relationship there between himself and the Parks, and that would have to be rectified to some degree so that they're all pulling in the right direction. Now, I don't know the level of breakdown there and whether or not that can be retrieved in any way, but I think that, again, that is a question that should be asked of Dave King if this was going to happen. It's not that he's not hidden that. His statements have been pretty scathing in the past about the Park. So it's not something that I think he could shy away from or not expect fans to ask and have some concerns about.
He's also very vocal in the media, Stuart. He's not afraid to come out and have conversations. And I really don't know if I'm going to say keep us up to date on everything, because I don't think any chairman really does. We have been calling for how long for John Bennett to come out and talk to us, and whenever he did, it kind of went in the opposite direction from what the fans wanted. In terms of Dave King coming in terms of all the stuff that you've spoke about there, in terms of his relationship with certain people in the media, is it something that we right now need at Rangers Football Club? Is a Dave King what we need?
there's maybe a need, my personal belief, maybe a need for a behind the scenes Dave King, whether that's, going up against, Celtic and on certain things and probably being maybe slightly stronger in that. Whether it's Dave King or someone else, John Gilligan, whoever that takes the role over on a kind of more permanent basis, my view hasn't changed that what has to happen is you appoint a CEO, you appoint a director of football or sporting director, whatever it is, and allow them to do the day-to-day running of the club. And actually that board is there not to be silent or anything like that, but the day-to-day running of it should not be. And I think that's part of the problem. We'd because Dave King's not a football man, so, and as I said, he gave us Pedro Caixinha. Let's not forget he was fooled by a PowerPoint presentation by that guy. So it still needs appointments to be made, the correct appointments, people who have a knowledge of football, and let them deal with the day-to-day running of the football club. That should then be the face and the more regular output that you get from the club. And yes, then you might have a King sitting in the background who does a bit more every now and then. But I wouldn't want Dave King coming out every month with a statement. I don't think that does any good, and that to me, what it would worry me, because again, it would feel as if he's too hands-on. The board doesn't need to be that hands-on. They should just be signing off on things, appoint the right people, pay them well, and trust them to get on with the job of running the club on a day-to-day basis.
And that's what Jimmy Villa was saying, King, just for the short term and nothing else. We need him for stability. Then he gets a proper replacement. In terms of stability, Stuart, with all that's going on behind the scenes and on the park, and fan unrest and the delays in Ibrox, and every week we've got something to complain about. We don't have a CEO, like I say, a director of football, an academy director, the chairman's stepping down, and the new possible chairman coming in might not see eye to eye with other members of the board. What state are Rangers Football Club in right now? Is it as bad as what we think it is, or do we all need to take a wee chill pill?
I don't think we're in a great state. I think there has to be an honesty there in terms of, not having a chairman, not having a CEO, not having, sporting directors and so on, coupled with poor decisions being made, whether that be how the disabled facilities at Ibrox have worked, the signing policies over the last few transfer windows, etc. And then ultimately on the park, we haven't been successful enough. We're not in a great shape. Now, are we back to where we were 2014? No, absolutely not. I think the fact, if you take King at face value and he's aware that there are people interested in investing in Rangers, I think that is a sign that it's on a more stable footing than what it was, because back then there wasn't a huge number. It was genuine Rangers fans who had to step in and try and actually save the club. So we're not back to that stage. I think there are certain. I thought yesterday there was some signs of optimism, by the way, in that performance. I know it wasn't 100%. I know it wasn't exactly what we want, but I thought there are signs that there are maybe the signing policy that we're trying to adopt. There could be a couple of wee gems in there and so on. So I think there are some positives. I don't think it's completely back to the dark old days, but I think it would be naive to suggest that everything in the garden is rosy, because it's not. And it just seems as if there's a lot of stuff happening in a really short period of time, which I think exacerbates that.
I was on mute. And just finally, this question in for Stuart Balmer. Stuart spelt correctly, by the way. But there we go. Can you explain to fans how Dave King managed to get all his money back, as some are suggesting?
Well, I don't know if that is the case, to be honest.
Neither do I.
I mean, like I say, I think from Dave King again has this was on our group chat as well, put in about, I think people when it comes to Bennett, and the money that he put in, and I think it was kind of put back at me, but yeah, but he's got 5% on that and stuff like that. I think that, like, from a legal perspective, I think there has to be something like that in, and I dare say 5% is a far better and more attractive option than potentially what we would have got if we'd went to a bank to ask for
Well, a bank, you're
loans.
talking at least 17, 18, at
Yeah,
least.
exactly. So, I think there there has to be a kind of two-way thing there, that these guys will invest money, out their own pocket, but there will have to be a return from that. And like I say, I don't think that's them being greedy. I think there is some legalities around that, that there has to be, if it's seen as a loan, whatever, that's done. Let's say I don't have any inside knowledge, etc. I dare say King has probably made some money back from selling maybe some shares, etc. But I think the majority of that was Club 1872 that it was earmarked for. And I haven't heard anything that suggests that there's been a huge amount of shares sold recently. Normally you see something that somebody keeps an eye on the stock market, etc. And I haven't seen anything like that. So that would be news to me. I'm afraid I don't know if he has made that. I don't think Dave King won't lose money out of what he's done with Rangers.
No, no, no. Neither will Bennett, neither will Park. Well, Park might, but we shall wait and see what happens. Stuart, thank you very much.
No worries. Pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I will try my best. Speak soon, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
So, I mean, yeah, look, none of us are financial experts, and none of us have got any clue what's going on in behind the scenes. We don't have any access. We don't have any background knowledge. We can only go on what we think, and what we feel, just like everybody watching. So I will quickly, by the way, what I'll do right now is I'll open the phone lines, 01416287237, because there is plenty to talk about. I'm not a massive fan of talking about all this board stuff and interest rates and loans and blah, 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 because I don't understand most of it because I'm thick. So if you want to come on and ask me about it, then come on and ask me about it. I don't really know what kind of answer you'll get. But if you want to maybe come on and talk about the Dundee United game, there's a few people still not happy. I'm one of those, but I did see positives, like Stuart was saying there, in the performance. But just because you say you've seen a positive 15, 20 minutes doesn't necessarily mean that you're saying that you're absolutely overjoyed at the performance. I think people need to just rein that in a wee bit. But we have got our first call, and it is brand new channel member Scott in Sydney. Scott, how are you?
Buddy, how are you, mate?
I am not bad. Are you driving?
No, mate, it's Scott from Australia again. How are you?
I'm not bad, Scott, my friend. How are you?
Good, mate. Just enjoying the live stream, sitting here on a Monday night. Yeah, mate. Yeah, really good. I'll listen to the aftermath this morning at work. Really, really good. Really good. You guys are, and a special thank you to Ian. The other day, he said some nice things on the podcast then as well. I really appreciate that feedback. Not that it means anything, but sweet as.
He's just looking for that appreciative feedback, Scott. Don't fall into his trap. Don't fall into it. What was it? Give me your thoughts on the weekend's game, then, Scott.
Mate, my first thing that I was so impressed with, and it was the support. Every single Rangers fan that was sitting in the stands at Tannadice yesterday, I was sitting in my lounge room before the game. I saw Tav in the tunnel. He's taking a sip of his juice, and I could hear follow, and it was blaring through. And I was like, the people are on. They're really on. And I felt that the energy, the the power of that support, I was like, mate, we're on here. And I just want to, I don't know all of those people. I know, I'm sure Wilt was in there. I really like him. I like his feedback on the chat, on the podcast, mate. It was outstanding. And if we can, if we're going to turn this club around and get back to where we belong, it's noise, atmosphere, energy, and passion like that that's going to do it. That was outstanding. And when we went through little lulls, ups and downs through the games, you heard them again when they were singing Ibroxonia in mid-second half. It was, mate, I was hairs on my arms just standing up. It's what it's all about. The only people that are going to turn this club around, they're not boards. It's the fans. It's the people. That's what makes this club great. That's why we say we are the people. And I'm telling you, it was outstanding. So good on all those fans. It was sensational.
I thought, excuse me, Scott, I thought the away support yesterday were phenomenal. It would have been so easy for them to start booing and heckling after everything that we went through, but I completely agree with you. I thought to a man from minute 0 to minute 90, I thought they were absolutely outstanding.
It's outstanding. And it's the closest thing I've seen since when I lived there. When we won the league, there, Boydie scored a couple. When we won 3-1, I think, and Pedro Mendes. The fans that day, okay, we were lifting the title, winning the league. That was close to that yesterday. It felt like that to me. And that's what's going to turn the team around. And if we can just get Ibrox doing that again, stop choosing toxicity and choose passion and the reason we support the club, mate, they'll turn that team around. And I know Big Phil is horny as. See when the boys turn up like that, the fans, that makes him horny as, and it'll regenerate through the side. It really will. And yes, we were good for the first 20 as usual. We were a little bit of a lull. I thought Connor Barron, mate, I love that boy. He's a legend. For me, he's a future captain in making. He really has. He's got it already. And I was really, really impressed with Igamane. I thought, wow, we might have found a gem here. Yeah, and I love Jeff. I think Jeff he's flying at left back. I think he's a real talent as well. And I think there's things to be in a good frame of mind about. I think we're going all right. It's one win, we move to the next one, but yeah, all good.
100.
What about you? What do you think?
Listen, I'm with you. Igamane, look, I said it on the reaction. I don't want to put too much pressure on the boy. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but he is our saviour. But yeah, listen, I was really impressed by him. By Rami, I've seen on international duty, he came on to get 45 minutes, settles into the team. I'm excited about what he can bring. If Tom Lawrence can bring more of these small spells and make them bigger, when he scored his goal and then the 5 minutes after it, if he can get more consistent, if Proper and Suter can strike up a better partnership, Hefty at left back looked extremely good. I'm extremely excited by him. And the big question now is, when Yilmaz is fit, who's the number one starting left back, which is a problem that you need at a big football club. Connor Barron, 100% with you, mate. He is a captain of the future. He's barely put a foot wrong since he came in the door. That midfield three, though, is probably where I'm most worried. To be honest, Diamandi's performances are worrying me slightly. And I just feel that that's maybe the weakest part of the team right now, albeit we have many issues. But we've got a lot of young players. Like I say, Igamane is looking as if he's got loads of confidence. Looks as if he's not going to be feared no matter where he goes. We've got Cherny to come back from illness. Cortez again looked exciting in the first 45 minutes. So 100%, yeah, there's loads and loads of positivity there, Scott.
Mate, I agree. And just on Proper, I don't want to lay into him a little bit too much, but I think he's obviously got some sort of pedigree. He needs to speed up. He's playing the game in slow motion, and he's sort of like, mate, he needs to do things at least 5 times faster. It's too slow on the ball. Move. I think he can defend, but I'm not sure on the ball. It's too slow, and he was doing it at Celtic Park, and it was cross balls back and forth. It was honking. he needs to speed up and get to the pace, and I'm sure he will once he's worked it all out. For me, but Balogun's still better at the moment. I'd rather have Balogun in there until he's fully got his head around what he's involved in. We trust the manager. Phil knows what he's doing, and in the midfield, I'd like to see, make your mind up what we're doing with Sterling, because I think Phil unearthed a gem in Batiste last year when he put him in there and he had a blinder and we won that game. And he was a powerhouse. He could be like a Makalele for us. He could just put him in there, do all he's athletic, he's powerful, but you stop playing with his career. Pick him as a centre midfielder or put him at right back and drop Tav. And I love Tav, but make a decision. Stop playing with the boy's career. Raskin, I want to see more. And I really want to see Bailey Rice promoted, to be perfectly honest with you. The mail on him is outstanding. So let's see him play. Give him a shot.
There is. And look, you've mentioned a few names there. There's so much positivity in terms of young talent. It's just really difficult for the positivity to break through because of the position that we currently find ourselves in. But I'm hoping as the weeks go on and the performances get better, we can start to see that. Scott, my friend, I'm going to have to let you go, but I really appreciate the call. Thank you for becoming a channel member, mate, and we'll speak soon.
Sure, that's mate. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers, buddy. Take care. Now, if Scott can phone from Australia, then I know that there's more people out there who can phone as well. 01416287237. There was somebody trying to get through while Scott was on the line, so if you want to phone back, I'll bring you straight in. What I will say before that is, and I'm going to bring producer Brian back in a wee second, but calm down, Brian, calm down. The support the channel's getting is phenomenal. The amount of subscribers that we're getting is phenomenal. And apparently Dave King is now live on TalkSport, which is something I probably shouldn't say because it might take viewers away from the Morning Rabble. But I'll say it anyway. Dave King's live on TalkSport. I'll go and listen back to that. And we'll have that on tonight's Monday Night Rabble. But keep liking, keep subscribing. We've currently got 279 people watching on YouTube with just 66 likes. Let's get that up to 100. I'm going to keep doing this in every show, by the way. Let's get the likes up to 100 until such times as it just becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? Muscle memory. That's what it is. Muscle memory. You come in and you hit a like. Before I've even spoke, because that's how good I am, you'll just like the show and boom, the likes will be right through the roof. And of course, you can join as a member as well. The join button below the window. And also there is a link in the description if you want to become a member. The memberships are growing all the time. Like I say, 60 odd in the space of a month, which is absolutely crazy. So if you want to help support the Rabble, you can now by becoming a member. But we have our second phone call of the day. Hello, welcome to the Rangers Rabble. Hello.
Hello, Martin.
Hello, how you doing?
I want to phone you up to apologise. It's Tony from Manchester, the Celtic supporter.
All right, you don't need to apologise, my friend.
No, because I didn't realise you were talking back to me because I couldn't hear you, so I put the phone down.
Oh,
and then what I done, I watched it later to find out what, and then it was like I could see that you were speaking to me, and then you went, "Oh, he's put the phone down." But I tried to phone you back straight after the show was finished, but it wouldn't you let me.
All right, I
just wanted to tell you. I'm not an ignorant man. I didn't think. I thought you'd cut me off to tell the truth.
No. I would only be cutting you off if you were making me look stupid, Tony. Which is I don't
do that, mate.
But it's quite plausible with me.
I think Rangers, not this year, but maybe next year, they will definitely get closer to Celtic. But if they got McInnes in, I reckon they've got 60-70% of winning the fucking league. Because I think they need a Rangers man. I don't care all the podcasts keep on saying you don't need a Rangers man, you don't need a Rangers man. All they got to do is look across the city and you see. If they had McInnes, I think they would do well.
But in fairness, Tony, albeit he left the first time, Brendan Rodgers is a Celtic man.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You know, But at the
Right,
same,
he's a Celtic man. Neil Lennon's a Celtic man. Strachan, no, well, I don't know about Strachan,
oh, Strackness.
but they've all been Celtic men.
Aye.
So that's what you need.
I get
Right,
that.
I'm going to go then.
No, stay there. No, I get that in terms of one of our greatest ever managers, Walter Smith, was a Rangers man. Paul Le Guen came in, didn't do a great job. Alec McLeish was a Rangers man. But then you've got the likes of Dick Advocaat who came in and done a decent job. I get the point. I completely get the point.
I met Alec McLeish a couple of months ago. I was at a friend of mine in Bury who died, Frank McDougall, who used to play for Aberdeen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was at his funeral and Big Alec was there. I was talking to him. He was drinking the old wine, slagging the wine because it wasn't up to his standard.
Well, he's a rich man, Tony, so he's only getting the best of wine. But look,
yeah, he's a nice bloke.
I take your point on board. I do. I struggle to believe that in football nowadays you can't get a good manager in to do a job regardless of what team he supports.
Yeah.
But Scotland is a strange country.
Oh, we know that.
Thanks very much for the call.
Okay then, pal. All right, bye.
Cheers, buddy. In fact, do you know what, Brian? I'm 01416287237. Get your calls in now, Brian. I'm going to bring you in. Brian, on that point, actually, I get confused about what Tony was actually saying there, and I think I just made his point for him about Brendan Rodgers being a Celtic man, right? Has he got a point about managers, and do we need a Rangers man in to be the boss? If you look back at history, Scotland's a different league to everywhere else in the world. We know that. It's a strange wee country that we live in. It's a strange football league that we have. Do we need a Rangers man?
I would say the vast majority of managers that we have had have been Rangers fans. The only sort of anomalies to that would be Advocaat and Gerrard. That's the only two that you can single out that were a success that weren't Rangers men.
Could you argue then? Because just on that point about Gerrard, that maybe not necessarily a Rangers man, but somebody who comes in and instantly gets the league, instantly gets the city, and instantly understands it. Do you need somebody like that?
I think you need somebody that's had an experience of being at an intense football club like Gerrard was at Liverpool. He was involved in that club, and Liverpool, the size of them is, I'm certainly not saying it's comparable to Rangers, because obviously Liverpool play in a different arena to what Rangers do as far as the EPL, but he got what playing for a club was like, and got how the fans, everybody going in the right direction. He got playing for what a big club meant. So managing a big club for him wasn't really a big stretch for him. So that sort of thing is, I think, very much needed. Somebody that's not overawed by, the size of Rangers. There's a lot of guys like Le Guen. You thought that would have worked because he was at Lyon, but again, not being from the UK shores maybe went against him. There's a lot of managers that have come in that have kind of thought, well, a draw is not a bad result, X, Y, Z. Draws are just not good enough up here. A draw is as bad as bad as a loss. Because if you draw, you're going backwards. So it's a difficult one, but you need somebody that has had some form of big club experience and can handle the pressures of fan opinion and all that goes with that. Because there's a lot of managers that have just folded under the pressure and they just haven't been able to take it.
Yeah, do you think Clement gets that now?
There's times I've thought that, and then there's times I haven't, and I'm still on the fence with that. He says all the right things. He says that he understands this and he understands that, but there's times that you hear him on, post match or press conferences, and you're like, not sure he's really grasping the gravity of this. Because let's be honest, there's no points for second place in Scotland. At the end of the day, if you're second, you're a loser. There's no even if you
That's
got a
getting
chance.
clipped up when we finish second this season.
Well, it is. There's no points for second place. If you don't win in Scotland, there's a very good chance that your job's under scrutiny. So, for me, it's got to be. You've got to have a guy, as I said before, that's had an experience of having a demanding fan base, and the size of it as well. It's very difficult. The thing is, as well, it's all very well saying get somebody that's a Rangers man, but there's not many kicking around that are good enough managers to take up that position. So that's another problem.
I get that. I do get that. We've got to stay there, Brian, but we've got another phone call. Hello, welcome to the Rangers Rabble podcast.
Good morning, fellow Bears. How you doing, Martin?
I am not bad. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm the psychologist.
Oh.
I'm not going to give you a therapy session or nothing like that, but I was listening to the Celtic supporter that was on the phone, and I don't really, as much as I don't agree with it has to be a Rangers man. I think you need to understand more so what the history is of both clubs, that you'll be judged solely on your nearest challengers, and that will define you eventually if you get sacked or if you progress.
Is the evidence there though to suggest that
we have through the years, 10 years, if you look at 10 years, there has been 30 trophies available in the 10 years, and we've only won 3.
Mm-hmm.
We have lost 27 trophies with managers probably not getting what Glasgow Rangers is all about, and that is the defining factor. Nowhere else in the world will you be violated, will you be abused coming out the front door of your football club than Rangers and Celtic. If you don't win or if you don't perform, and as Brian says to you a couple of minutes ago, you're going to second best is nothing. Nobody in Glasgow, nobody in Scotland will remember second place. We will always remember the winners, and that's what counts, and that's what we need. Do I think Philip Clement gets it? I think he's kind of struggling to get it at the point. I think he is struggling, and that's why he's making out comments and all that kind of stuff with tactics and all that kind of stuff. I think should we give him time? Is he the man to lead us to success? I've not got a clue. I have not got a clue.
None of us do, because none of us have got a crystal ball. I suppose we can only surmise what we think is going to happen. But let me ask you, the game against Dundee United, did you see enough positives in that game?
I think for the first 25 minutes, we were back to Rangers. We were back to a team that played. We should have scored a couple of goals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust Dessers. I don't think Dessers is the man up front for us because he's missing too many chances. I think he's about 5. He takes too long in hitting the target sometimes, and the misses that he misses is calamitous to us. I don't think he's doing us any favours. I think Barami, when he came on, he's a breath of fresh air, and I think he'll be our future number 1 striker. Would I class Dessers? Some of my mates, Rangers supporters in the social club says, "Oh, he's just a bit like Morelos," and I went, "You cannot put Cyril Dessers in the same category or the same sentence as Alfredo Morelos. Not a chance. What you talking about? Morelos is a way up sky high. Yes, he had his problems, but we could rely on him to score the goals. He scored probably more than he missed, Morelos, in a good day.
Possibly so, right? But just to come back to you on that, what was Morelos' highest goal tally for a single season at Rangers?
I don't know, about 20, 30 goals a season, something, 20, 20 mid-20s.
Brian Morelos averaged about, what, 15, 16 goals a season?
League-wise, yes.
Mm-hmm. Cyril Dessers last season was 24.
Something like that, yeah,
Something
22,
like that.
24.
But I totally take your point on the amount of chances that he misses, and I thought against Dundee United he was extremely poor. Don't get me wrong, I thought he was, but he does score goals.
But would you class him in the same bracket as Alfredo Morelos just because of one season?
No, because Alfredo Morelos is our top ever European goal scorer. He's got a few years to go yet. You can't compare the two, but he does get a lot of stick. But he does still score goals. Is he good enough long term to make us successful? No, I do not think so. No, not in the slightest.
I don't think he's the next. I don't think he's the next great striker like Ali McCoy that's going to power us to success for 2, 3, 4, 5 league titles in a row. I don't really think he's the man for the job. But what I saw with Barami, I think he could be, because he was outstanding. He was outstanding.
You talk about Igamane, you talking about Bayrami.
Igamane. Sorry.
And again, I want to say I don't want to put too much pressure. Not that, listen, what do my words mean? Absolutely nothing. But I don't want to put too much pressure on the boy. But I mean, when was the last time that we seen somebody come straight into the team with no knowledge of Scottish football and not care, pull the ball out there on his chest, run at players, look exciting? When was the last time we had a player like that? Ryan Kent, maybe in the early days.
Maybe I heard I've seen on one of the lists in Portugal. Is it the boy came for? It was the top. He was in the top 10 youth strikers for his academy. The boy before he came here. So that would tell you a lot. But the way he played on the wing when he beat the four players with ease was just utter class, and he linked up. I think he's got a lot to. We've got a lot to look out for with that boy.
Hopefully, he just starts scoring goals soon.
But we need to take a time. It's a brick at a time, no a building. It's a marathon, no a sprint for us, kind of thing. But there's a slow progress. 3 points was the main thing. Mm-hmm. But I think Dundee United killed the game when Dundee United manager made all the changes. He just killed the game. Instead of, if I was the Dundee United manager, I would have went for the throat, because we are vulnerable. I would have played a team and went for us.
Listen, if I was the Dundee United manager, I would have started my wee brother. But there we go. That's just me. And by the way, Jim Goodwin's a very good man. That's all I'm saying.
No, I really like Jim Goodwin. I stay 2 minutes for the Barshaw Park, and I used to see him on his bike when he was a St Mirren manager, and he spoke to us every day, because St Mirren's training ground's right at the back of me, at Barshaw Park on the Paisley Road West. That's where I stay. So no, Jim Goodwin's a fantastic man.
And I will never say any different until such times as he's not the Dundee United manager. But there we go. Listen, thanks very much for the call, buddy. I really appreciate it.
No bother, Martin.
Right,
take care.
Cheers,
thank you.
Just quickly then, Brian, on Igamane.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I don't know why I keep saying this, right? Maybe I should just go the whole hog. I don't care anymore. That boy looks quality.
Yeah, the cameo he had, he looked very exciting. He looked somebody that was not afraid to take on strikers. He showed a lot of maturity. There was a period in the game where he won the ball near the sort of, I think it was the sort of 18-yard line, and he had the sort of mental sort of strength to say, right, there's not much on for me. So he dragged it in the corner. He didn't. He was time wasting. He could have easily just been very excited, got the ball, tried to take everybody on and have a shot, but he actually showed a bit of maturity in taking it in the corner to just drain a bit more time out of the game. So for a young lad to do that with his first appearance, he was very. I just liked the fact how he wasn't willing to let the sort of centre halves bully him. He was very in their faces. He was making tackles. He was running. He was closing the centre halves down all the time. He just showed very. He was just exciting, and it's not a throwback to Morelos because they're different players, but he gave you that sort of vibe where this is something could happen here. And I just loved his energy, and I think all the other players fed off that. Bajrami certainly got that.
By Rami. The Jai's are wide.
Sorry, by Rami. He sort of got that energy. Yefti got it. Everybody sort of fed off that sort of enthusiasm and that sort of keenness, and that's what you're needing. You're needing somebody at the top that drags everybody up the pitch and wants to get involved. Not scared to make mistakes. That's the sort of player that folk want to see. And Paul, yeah, I would give him I would start him for the first 45 hour, definitely.
Well, I've got a question for you, Brian, that takes it away from that and puts it back onto the manager, right?
Right.
01416287237 if you want to get in quickly for the final phone call of the day. We are on 100 likes. Boom, we made it. We made it to 100 likes. Let's see if we can get to 120 before the end of the show. 120. So 20 more likes. So if you're watching and you haven't liked yet, hit that like button. The more likes this gets, the more it gets spread across YouTube. So come on. 20 more likes. 19 more likes we need for 120. So let's do it. Rangers on tour. Do you think between now and January, Philippe Clement has a free run? Hopefully we do well in Europe, but all roads lead to the Old Firm game, and to lose that one, all hell will break loose. A free run, Brian, from now until January?
Well, I wouldn't say he's got a free run, because if he starts losing games in the league and falls even further behind, we've got away to Aberdeen coming up. I can't remember all the other ones that we've got come. The big, when I say bigger ones, the games that we should be looking at, and we've got Kilmarnock away coming up. As I say, Aberdeen in October, Hearts at home, Aberdeen at home in the December. And then as he says, it leads to the Old Firm in the second. I wouldn't quite say he's got a free run, because if that gap gets bigger, the noise is going to get worse, and the fans are going to get more and more disenchanted. So I wouldn't quite say he's got a free run. I get what Rangers are doing and say. I kind of get that, but at the same time, if we fall further behind Celtic before the Old Firm, then the pressure's just going to mount. And, it's maybe not just the games going away to Aberdeen and Kilmarnock and places like that, going to Motherwell's away, difficult places. Well, exactly, Derek. You never really get a free run, exactly. But it's all very well saying that. But as I say, going up to like Ross County, for example, Dundee last season, nobody was ever thinking that going to those places was going to be a problem. And ultimately, that was our problem. We didn't win those games, and that cost us the league. So it's all very well saying have a free run, but if you start getting near double figures behind before New Year, there's going to be questions asked of you.
Yeah, and Derek, I'd love to see 3 or 4 teams battling out at the top and the league be more attractive. Not so long ago, Scottish teams were always in the latter stages of Europe. I would love a competitive SPFL, and if that meant that on the few occasional seasons a Hearts or a Hibs or an Aberdeen ended up winning the league, and it made it more attractive for more people to come in, for more sponsors, there was more money put into the game, we could compete better in Europe and all that sort of stuff. I'm all for a competitive SPFL. It just doesn't really seem like it's. I
think it's 30 years since anybody outside Celtic or Rangers have won a league.
And that's just going to continue. That will absolutely just continue. Right, folks. 7 likes away for 120. Come on, there must be 7 of you watching that hasn't liked yet. That just hit that like button. Hit that like button. Thank you very much, Producer Brian.
No problem. Thank you.
So we're going to finish up there, folks. I'm not leaving this live stream, but until I get 6 more likes. So 6 more people hit that like button. I just want to say again, Thank you so much for all the support that you guys give. I'm going to maybe look at changing up the Morning Rabble slightly. I want your feedback on what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see better. Like I say, the more you like, the more you subscribe, the more the channel gets pushed out to more Rangers supporters and more people know about it. And as we have went full time, we rely fully on your support. So if you want to become a member and help the channel out, you can. Use the join button below the wee window. If you're on a computer, if you're on your phone, use the link in the description. Choose the tier that is right for you and help the channel progress. Oh, 132 likes. Boom. We're done. That's it. I would like to say that'll stay on to 150, but I could be here all day. So thank you so much for all the likes. Thank you for tuning in. We are back at 7:30 tonight for your Monday Night Rabble, where no doubt we will discuss the Dave King stuff in more detail. We'll go back over the game at Tannadice. We'll take your questions, and it should hopefully be a nice, fun show. Don't forget, you can download or stream all of our shows wherever you get your audio podcasts on Acast, iTunes, Spotify, and more. And I know why Brian's came back in. He's going to have a go at me. My apologies, Brian.
Not having a go. Just a gentle reminder that we have the women's show live at 6:30, just before the main pod. Another good win for the ladies on yesterday, so we will be picking the bones of that. And yeah, just to say that we'll be live at 6:30 with the usual squad then.
Do you think I can drag it out for another 11 likes, Brian? Do you think I can just drag the show to see if another 11 people will like
sure
it?
You could.
Sure
you could.
I mean, I've not seen any more comments on. Please do Rangers on tour. Thank you. I've not seen any more comments on the sandals and socks. Somebody's liked and then took it away. That's harsh. That's poor. Right, 9 likes away. I'm a like whore. I don't care. I do not care. I will stay here until we get another 9 likes.
I noticed folk are trying to validate Crocs as well. That's another one that just for me is just
Crocs.
It's an in-house footwear app.
Yeah, I know what a Croc is, Brian.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that there's a few folk mentioning Crocs, and I'm like, well, Crocs is maybe it's an indoor footwear at best in the house, but certainly not to be seen outside the house.
Well, I'll tell you what, I will wear. No, in fact, I'm not even going to start saying I'll wear stuff if we get to 150 likes. But look, folks, in all seriousness, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for the support. If you're watching this back, get hitting that like button, subscribe button. As Timothy Sharp says, come on, hit that like button so we can end the show and get back to our daily lives. Brian, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you all tonight, 6:30.